Hello, and thank you for joining us today. Um, Welcome to our December webinar about how to enable file transfer acceleration in FileCatalyst Workflow. My name is John Tkachevsky. I'm the president and co-founder of Unlimited Software, the makers and the creators of FileCatalyst products. Today's webinars will be mostly about FileCatalyst Workflow and webmail products, as well as a bit about FileCatalyst Direct. I oversee the vision and the creation of the webmail and workflow products, pretty much all the web products that FileCatalyst has to offer. If you would like to learn more about what we do, check out our blog at filecatalyst.com/blog. So what we'll be doing today is we're going to show you why you first need acceleration in FileCatalyst Workflow. We're going to also talk about the deployment overview and go over some deployment scenarios, how this acceleration can be achieved. We're going to talk in detail about some settings you need in Direct and in Workflow to enable the acceleration. And as well as we'll talk about some other benefits that you will get by integrating the two products together that are not necessarily obvious at the first glance. And if you have any questions, please type them into your GoToWebinar box, and at the end I will be very happy to go over your questions. So let's get started. So what is acceleration? We've had a number of webinars and I had a number of seminars, webinars, and speaking opportunities where I've been talking about acceleration. I'm just going to touch here very quickly on it, but the idea of acceleration is really that what we do is we actually allow you to maximize your bandwidth. So we're not really making your bandwidth any faster, we're just using all of it. The way we do that is what we've built is we've built our own protocol based on UDP, and our protocol will transfer files at the maximum bandwidth available to us continuously. When we compare this to a standard file transfer process that uses TCP, TCP has been around for a really long time. It powers the internet today. It's good for browsing the internet, perhaps watching the odd video on YouTube and stuff like that. But it has not been designed to really move large data. And the reason it's not meant for that is that TCP is a very serial process, meaning that when you send a little bit of data, you have to wait for the acknowledgement before I send you more data. So as you can see here, I send a bit of data and I wait for acknowledgement, and I send a bit more data and I wait. And this creates what we call a dead air. So nothing is being sent on the line because we're waiting for the acknowledgements. With FileCatalyst, we continuously stream data. The data is always going through the pipe using UDP, and acknowledgements arrive sort of concurrently, so the bandwidth is always maximized. So this is sort of a very, very big overview. If you want to know more about how UDP can really helps, I encourage you to maybe watch some other webinars from previous months, or maybe come to one of my presentations in one of the trade shows. So acceleration is really, as we said, we really maximize the bandwidth. So when is it really useful? It's really useful when your line approaches 10 megabits or more. If you have slower lines, 10 megabits or less, and by slower lines, you have to take the lowest of the two nodes. So if your server is connected to 100 megabits and your client is connecting at 10 megabits, you're effectively going at 10 megabits. So you have to take the slowest of the two nodes. And if you're approaching the 10 megabits line, this is where you actually start creating that dead air, where you're not sending data and you're not maximizing your bandwidth. Another good scenario is that if you're sending files into a very, very wide geographically diverse locations. So for example, sending files from London to LA, there will be a lot of latency on that transfer, on that network, and therefore files will not be going as fast as they possibly could. And the third one is that you're using a network that is prone to packet loss or latency. Here mainly it's the satellite networks. So for example, if you're going over a geostationary satellite, your latency might be up to a second to send a packet of data and come back. So once again, that creates your dead air, and that we can speed that up. And to a certain degree also your wireless, your 3G, 4G, LTE networks also are prone to latency, because as the data is flowing through, the latency grows quite fast on those networks. So if you see yourself in any of these brackets, acceleration is definitely something you can consider, and will improve your file transfer speeds. So here's just a little bit of a comparison chart. Once again, I don't want to go too long into this, but if you're sending a file from LA to Hong Kong on a 45 megabit line, it might take FTP or any TCP-based protocol or SFTP, FTP, FTPS might take 44 hours. With FileCatalyst, it will take 20 minutes. So this is the sort of the time savings we're talking about, just as a comparison. Of course, as your bandwidth grows and your latency grows, those improvements get better. And here's another example from LA to London. As I mentioned before in my when I was talking about the latency, FTP will take 16 hours for that 6 gig file to be sent. We can do it in 20 minutes. So it gives you an idea. So let's just go right into FileCatalyst Workflow. FileCatalyst Workflow is really a web-based portal for transferring files, and the FileCatalyst Workflow can really do 3 main sort of use cases. So someone can submit files to your organization, someone can send a file or deliver a file from your organizations to the outside, and then someone can share a file for either collaboration or for just regular sharing, file sharing. So these 3 use cases all are mostly done with the web browser and via the internet. There are some other tools, but I'm just going to concentrate here on the web browser application. So when the user connects, the user will connect through the internet. Will either be uploading a file, downloading a file via the internet, and it's all going to be going with the traditional, HTTP, FTP, or FTPS requests. The reason why we have 3 is that there could be some auto detect. If FTP is, for example, blocked, FileCatalyst Workflow will auto detect and will change the protocol to HTTP to allow it to go through the firewall. And then FileCatalyst Workflow receives all these requests, and this is where it translates this request to either its own internal FTP server, or it can go to a third-party FTP server. So if you have another FTP server somewhere else on your network, it can talk to it. And those servers make the files available on storage, and either now the file is going to be uploaded via FileCatalyst Workflow through the internal FTP server to the storage, or it can go the other way. It can be downloaded. Files could be grabbed from the storage, downloaded, and brought to the user. So this is sort of the traditional FileCatalyst Workflow deployment without acceleration. Now if you add acceleration to it, here's how the deployment is going to look like. So once again, we have our user here and sitting in front of their web browser. They're doing their HTTP requests via the internet. Those requests end up on the firewall, which go to FileCatalyst Workflow. So here the HTTP request would be, like the login page, the list of jobs, the view of order forms that you have in Workflow. All that stuff will be, sort of visible to the user, and all of this is going to come via HTTP. Also, if the transfers are set for HTTP, for example, then also the file transfers will go this way via HTTP, and then everything will be moved via FTP to direct server. Now, if the transfers are set to either UDP or FTP, FTPS, or FTP multiple stream, now what's going to happen actually is that the file transfer is going to open its own stream of data, also going through the internet, through your firewall, and directly going to your FileCatalyst Direct server. And being that your FileCatalyst Direct server is connected to the storage, this is where you end up, with all the files being dropped onto the storage. So keep in mind that this is a very simple deployment. Many of our clients will have, a number of these FileCatalyst Direct servers connected to a FileCatalyst Workflow. For example, one could be in Europe, one could be in North America, another one in Asia. So all these FileCatalyst Direct servers are connected through workflow, so everything can, all the data can be, the user can have the flexibility where to place the data or where the data should go. The other connectivity here that we have is the remote admin connection, and the remote admin connection. This is what really how the connectivity between FileCatalyst Workflow and Direct happens underneath it all. So this is what allows the connectivity to for example, creating users on the Direct server or a remote administration. I'll get into that in a minute. So here are some of the settings that you will require to make these changes. So first of all, you must install FileCatalyst Direct server somewhere on your network, and you have to take note of your port settings. So for example, here in this example, I have port 21 open, which is the unsecured, unencrypted port, and I also have the SFTP port open 22, and I could also configure my secure port. So you just have to remember this because you'll need this later to configure your proxy account. Then what we call the second thing which you'll need to create a proxy account in Direct server, and this proxy account you'll enter it exactly as you've created it on the Direct server in Workflow. And this proxy account will be used for exchanging UDP traffic and making sure that everything is mapped properly. So you need that. Basically, it's just a regular account on the Direct server. And finally, you need to enable remote administration on your Direct server, so Workflow can connect remotely to that server, and for example, set up a new user account. Or if you want to administer Direct via Workflow, you can do that as well. But this is optional, and I'll get into my demo in a minute. Settings required in FileCatalyst Workflow are fairly similar, where you have to do, you have to modify your configure, you have to disable the internal server. So here, let me just get started on this. I'm gonna go into, there we go. I'm going to log in here. So here I have a running version of FileCatalyst Workflow. I'm just running this on localhost here right now. So here are my settings. I only have one job because I was just testing this, but this is a brand new install of FileCatalyst Workflow. Okay, brand new install of FileCatalyst Workflow with version 4.9. So now I'm just going to go into modify configuration here, and the first step is going to be for me to disable my internal FTP server. The reason I want to do this is that very often you'll end up installing your FileCatalyst Direct server on the same machine as Workflow, and then there'll be conflicts. So first thing we want to do is to disable this setting here on the internal FTP server settings. And once you do that, the second thing the system is going to ask you is that it needs to restart. So let me just restart it here, and this is going to actually shut down that internal FTP server. Okay, so my server is shut down now, so my internal server is no longer running. So now I can go on here and install my FileCatalyst Direct server, which I already did. But this is what will allow you to read those those Direct server settings I've been just talking about. So as you shut down your internal server, setting up our Direct server standalone. That's robotic. Okay. Sorry, I think there's a bit of a volume issue here. Okay. Okay, so at this point here, I have my FileCatalyst server, Direct server running, and here's my proxy account, which I already created. I just showed you there on the screenshot, but it's really just a regular user account. That's all what you need. I also needed to take a note here of my ports. So for example, here I'm running on port 21. So I just need to remember this when I'm configuring my workflow now to use this new standalone external server. So let me just log back in here now as super administrator to FileCatalyst Workflow, and I'm going to go into my FC servers and locations, and here's what I have to do. I'm going to basically have to change my host IP. So in this case here it's all localhost because I'm running locally, but you would have to point this to appropriate IP or domain name of where your direct server is running. And you would have to uncheck the use internal FTP server and click on check site. And what this will do is that this will expose the two username fields that I need to enter for doing the for the proxy server setup, proxy account setup. So let me just go in here. It's called FC Workflow. And I've set the password to 12345, and here's my port that comes in. It's port 21. And now if I click on check site here, it shows me that I'm connecting to the internal server. So this is what these steps. I've just now installed direct server standalone. I created a user on it, and I connected the proxy account to that server. At this point here I can save, and I'm pretty much done with setting up the acceleration. To now use these acceleration protocols, I can go to set file method, and now you see everything was before set up to HTTP. Now I can change this to auto, and this will actually auto will try to always use UDP unless there's a firewall issue, and then everything is going to switch back to FTP or HTTP. So at this point here, I'm ready now to transfer files via UDP in workflow. So that's really the to the point you have to do. So you create an account in Direct, and then you use that account in workflow to connect to connect to your Direct server. There is the optional configuration, which is really the remote admin, which I'm going to get into now. So there's few more things you can do. So when you're connected to FileCatalyst Direct standalone server, you can now have ability to create accounts in both. So you could have, when a user account is created in workflow, that same account gets propagated to FileCatalyst Direct. And this is useful when you want to provide a web interface, an SFTP interface, an FTPS interface to the same user. Another thing that this is good, as well as good for remote administration, is that this allows you to do also remote administration of FileCatalyst Direct server from workflow, so you don't have to use multiple applications. So let me just show you here how I would do this. So I'm just going to go back into my servers and locations here, and I'm going to check enable remote administration. And I'm going to just set my username and password for my admin. In my case here, I'm just doing a demo, so it's 12345. And now if I save this, I can now add users to the server automatically. So if I click this here and I do a check site, you'll notice that the difference really will be that when this is set up is that it's actually going to show me my home path. So it's going to show me where the files from FileCatalyst Workflow end up being saved on this computer. So it's in C, Program Files, FileCatalyst Server, Data, FC Workflow. And this path is actually coming from your direct server. So if I look at here, my direct server, this is where the path ends up being. It's this information here. So so this is useful for creating multiple storage points on your system. So for example, you can create you could have F drive pointing to on your SAN somewhere for all the regular users, and then for, let's say, your post-production users, you might want to point them to the G drive, which might be completely different storage device on your network. You can control this a lot. You can control this through the direct server now by just making more accounts and more users. So if I would want to create, for example, a G a G drive for post-production, I would once again go back into my Direct server now, create another user, call it, let's say, FC Workflow Post-Production, point it to G drive, and then I would create in FileCatalyst Workflow, I would create another site and call it, post-production. So like this, you can have multiple paths. You can assign users to different FTP FileCatalyst servers or locations. So remember, the location could be either a real physical server, FileCatalyst server somewhere else on the planet, or it could be the same server just pointing to another location or another path in your SAN. Another thing you can do with this kind of setup is that now you can actually connect your Direct server to our Central. So FileCatalyst Central is it's a monitoring the administration console that allows you to watch all your FileCatalyst servers, all your hot folders, and monitor what the transfers that are happening to and from there. It also allows you to essentially manage and monitor all your FileCatalyst servers. This gives you also the ability to throw alarms if there's a problem with one of the servers. For example, your FileCatalyst server in Europe dies, you can get an email notification, or perhaps an SNMP trap could be sent as well. So this is some added bonuses besides of the adding acceleration to your FileCatalyst workflow. Some other things you can do here, you can see in real time, your transfer sessions and speed them up, slow them down. But these are more like a direct features at this point that we're talking. So it gives you just a more complete interface to your FileCatalyst products. So just want to know here, let me just look at here if I have any questions at this point. Okay. One question I have here is, does sending files through FileCatalyst, does it automatically resume transfers? And yes, it does. You can take a file transfer that failed in FileCatalyst, and you can the client will stop for a few seconds, allow the link to reestablish itself, and resume the transfer from that point on. If, let's say, the connection drops for permanently, then you can also resume the transfer by reselecting the same file to transfer that file again. I don't see any other questions. Let me just invite you to some of our events coming up where you can find out more about our technology. We will be at the BES Expo in New Delhi on January 14th. We'll be in LA on January 21st. We'll have also a user forum in London on February 24th. BVE at Excel, a great venue, brand new venue for trade shows for BVE. And February 25th, we'll be in Dubai on CapSat for CapSat in March. And of course, our big NAB show in Las Vegas, Nevada, on April 5th. So there'll be lots of chances to meet us. If you have any questions, please come by our booth or sign up for our user forum. And don't forget our monthly webinars, which are usually they are towards the end of the month, but this is a special month because of the holidays. We've done it a bit earlier. So thank you very much. I don't have any other questions. Happy holidays and happy and prosperous New Year. Thank you.